but we are going to do what it takes to dismantle the organizations and the entities that are fomenting riots, that are doxing, that are trying to inspire terrorism, and that are committing acts of wanton violence.
Absolutely. So I'm very happy to see that Stephen Miller in the face of the left now, and everyone's saying, tone down the rhetoric, that he's taking no prisoners. And you know what? President Trump, too. I was very nervous that President Trump would say, you know, this is both sides, and right now we just need to let cooler heads prevail. No. I like seeing that these people are fighting, because guess what? You're in a fight anyway, whether you like it or not. They took Charlie Kirk's life, and he's the most peaceful who's been among us. Play.
Designate, investigate, and we talked about this last year.
Well, the problem is on the left. When you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
We plan on investigating.
We'll see. We'll be announcing. They're already under investigation. You know, they're already under major investigation. A lot of the people that you would traditionally say are on the left.
They're already under investigation?
Already under investigation.
When you see these organized doxing campaigns where the left calls people enemies of the republic, calls them fascists, says they're Nazis, says they're evil, says they have to be removed, and then prints their addresses, what do you think they're trying to do? They are trying to inspire someone to murder them. That is their objective. That is their intent. Under President Trump's leadership, I don't care how, it could be a RICO charge, a conspiracy charge, conspiracy against the United States, insurrection, but we are going to do what it takes to dismantle the organizations and the entities that are fomenting riots, that are doxing, that are trying to inspire terrorism, and that are committing acts of wanton violence.
Absolutely. And like I said, this is not a byproduct. This is the feature of the left's propagandizing and their control of the institutions. And we'll get to the montage, in case you've forgotten, of the leftists calling for continued violence. But having experienced this firsthand many times and some really close calls, I have been telling you since at least 2019 that Antifa, Black Lives Matter, they need to be designated as terrorist organizations. I think now, those of you who agreed, they're finally going to hear you. Does Antifa fit this definition? Absolutely. Not only do they fit the definition, keep in mind, terrorism, you don't necessarily have to commit violence. You have to instill terror. Antifa obviously does that, and then they go one step further and actually commit acts of violence.
Yeah,
so they're a terrorist organization plus. We're wrapped for right now. It's going to get too dangerous. Yep. And then we had the Black Lives Matter as a terrorist organization. There's a whole chain behind. You can go back and watch it. We had a sign ready for Antifa, and we couldn't do it because they terrorized the table and anyone who was willing to sit down. It's not just that they terrorize the people who speak and invite conversation. They terrorize the portion of America who may even lean left but are willing to engage in a conversation. That's what screaming Nazi, fascist, racist does. And the enablers, I don't ever want to hear fringe left again, ever, because you can't find me a single national figure in the Democratic Party in this country in the last 10 years who didn't at least on 3 separate occasions, and I've counted, either condone or enable directly violence. This is the culmination of decades of work, and it's not an accident.
It's a very delicate balancing act, because while we tried to make sure that they were protected from the cars and the other things that were going on, we also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on
mob.
them.
They didn't create a mob.
You tell them they're not welcome.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh,
You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
They asked me would I like to debate this gentleman. I said no. I said if we were in high school, I'd take you behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
This is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day.
Yeah, they've been doing that for years, and I could show you more. Then they send a message right now because they've been caught. Oh, to tone down the violence. Hey, let's cool temperatures in messaging that is veiled, paper thin, and frankly seems disingenuous.
Each and every man under my command owes me 100 Nazi scalps. And I want my scalps. And all y'all will get me 100 Nazi scalps taken from the heads of 100 dead Nazis. Or you will die trying.
But they're toning it down.
Absolutely.
I know you had something that you wanted to talk. Sorry. And I think we'll probably do should we do the myths that people have perpetuated about Charlie Kirk tomorrow, maybe? Because maybe we want to tune in and see what J.D. Vance has to say.
I think we definitely want to tune in. So yeah, let's keep the myths, some little claim truth that we have for you guys. I wanted to go back to one thing that was said about the pastors, and then I want to come back to this both sides things, because I've had this conversation several times with people that I might not have this conversation with normally, to see where they're coming from. But the pastor stood up and said that Charlie Kirk spent his entire life being a racist and sowing seeds of division in this country. So let me just start with the last part. Sowing seeds of division. That is essentially, in this country, Pastor, your job. Because the culture is anti-God. You are supposed to sow truth and love and compassion, which will be antithetical to everything that this society is for, which will create divide. Christ said, I did not come to unite. You are going to have evil. You are going to have good. That doesn't mean that the purpose is division. It means that truth is divisive. Secondly, he was not being racist when he said that per capita in the 1950s, in the Jubilee surrounded, they pulled up the tape from this, that he was saying that in the 1950s, per capita, black people were better off than they are today. And why is that? Maybe because 75% of the fathers aren't there in the black household, and we can talk about why that is, but you can't tell me they're doing better today than they were then. That's what they're taking. That is a pastor in a church saying that flags shouldn't be flown at half-mast to honor this man, because he said, just because of how you die, or something to the effect of how you die does not negate how you lived. Now let's do George Floyd. What'd you say when he died?
Yeah.
Did you say the same thing? Did you stand up and say that we shouldn't be kneeling in the halls of Congress for this serial offender who went out on a bender, essentially? I doubt you said that. I don't think that was a problem that you brought up to your congregation. So, and I'm a little bit pissed off about this, because we should have better representation here. You can say a lot of things from the pulpit. Those are not the things to say to try to stir up your audience. So going to the both sides conversation, this is not both sides.
No,
this is not both sides. This is targeted violence against an ideology. And they're saying, okay, well, what about what happened in Minneapolis? We sat here and said that is horrific what happened in Minneapolis. There's evidence on both sides for what this guy could have believed. I have no idea why it happened. You didn't see Republicans cheering the death of these people. That did not happen. No. Didn't happen here. What happens when we allow both sides is there's only one side that when we give in, they get everything they want. They get open borders. They get child trafficking numbers that just would boggle the mind. 300,000+ children going missing, just being sold into sex slavery, most likely, or just being forced into indentured servitude. When they get everything they want, you get all economic policies, and you're like, oh, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Well, when it breaks a country, it's pretty bad. Yep. It's not a good idea to do that. When they get what they want because we back down, it's men and women's sports. It's children being transed. It's children being removed from their parents' arms because they don't agree with the trans ideology, and setting up a trans safety zone for them in Minneapolis. That's what happens. This is not both sides of this situation. I don't want to have to go and jump in the streets and get violent, and neither do any of my friends here. But at some point, they want the opposite of this country, and so we have to push back. Don't let the both sides take the fire out of your belly, but don't let the frustration make you go out and do something that we don't believe in the first place.
Right. Here's what I'll tell you. Very well said, Gerald. I'll tell you the truth. I went to church this Sunday, and I left early. And I'm never going to misuse this where people say panic attack. I've had 3 panic attacks in my life. I can tell you when I had them. People often misuse it. But there was a creeping anxiety with people coming in and seeing people at the pulpit, seeing people exposed, knowing that you're in a crowded place that you can't control. I went through this, and of course, what happens if you're a public figure, people may try and tell you that you're paranoid or you're agoraphobic. No, it's a legitimate fear. And I'm gonna have to work on that. I know that a lot of us are. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you this, you can't take away the fear. The left has been effective with that. They have been effective with that. They have made you afraid to speak your mind. You need to speak. You need to be a disciple anyway. You can't take away the fear. But you can make them just as afraid. And I don't mean by going out and assassinating anyone. I mean, you can make them just as afraid. Because right now they're not. They're not afraid to come up and tear your sign down. They're not afraid to come up and scream in your face and hit you and whack you with a stick or a snare drum or a rock or a milkshake. You can make them. You can make them just as afraid as you are to go out and speak publicly. You can at least make them just as afraid to screw with you while you do it. And I know that doesn't fix everything, but it helps. There's a huge portion of the left right now, and I would say majority, that is full-on evil, period. It is a death cult. It is a death cult. Their solution to all of the issues that matter, life, abortion, kill, no restrictions. Not one candidate, DNC, not one national candidate would put any restrictions on abortion, including to up until birth, taxpayer-funded, period.
Yeah.
Environmentalism, kill people. Skyrocket energy costs. Make it so that we can curb the population. How do you deal with people who disagree with you? Call them fascists, call them Nazis, call them racist, say genocide. Everything to them is death. And here's a new YouGov poll. It asked, do you generally consider it to be acceptable or unacceptable for a person to be happy about the death of a public figure they oppose? Okay, here are the answers. Always unacceptable. Republicans, 77% said always unacceptable. 38% of Democrats. That means that a significant majority of Democrats answered anything other than unacceptable to celebrating the death of a public figure they oppose. Both sides, 77% of Republicans. It's the closest sort of analog we have for conservative. I know not all Republicans are conservative. Overwhelming majority of Republicans said it's always unacceptable. Only 38% of Democrats. It's not fringe. It's not fringe, it's the majority. Otherwise, you wouldn't be this scared. Then you can point to more examples, like the Oxford Union president, George, what's his name? Abaranayeh, I don't even care about it. George the prick. He said, Charlie Kirk got shot. Let's effing go. Here's that pro-Hamas punk rock rapper, whatever his name, Bob Villain. Mm-hmm. Celebrating, and this is going to make you mad, but you need to see these people for who they are. The worst group is educators, and I'm going to get to a highlight reel. Here is Bob Villain out there celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. It should disgust you.
I want to dedicate this next one to an absolute piece of shit of a human being. The pronouns was, were. Because if you chat shit, you will get banned. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk, you piece of shit.
Now, the left will tell you that you're just as bad as him for wanting to see him get his ass beaten. You're not. Your anger is righteous. Your desire for justice, for violence in someone who celebrates and perpetuates violence it's not the same. That's to say that violence from the Nazis was the same as violence from people stopping Nazis, right? That's the rhetoric that the left uses. I'm going to use a language they understand. Not all violence is morally equivalent. And I will say this, people say political violence is never the answer. Well, the left doesn't believe that. And when you are dealing with an opponent who sees it as the most readily available, viable option, You don't have to treat it that way, but you have to see it as an option. You have to understand that it is an option because it's always there for them. It's always there for them. And if you act like it's never there for you, then they can go to that option completely unfettered. And that's what we have seen. And even worse than some guy who deserves to get his ass beat. By the way, I'd do it for charity, yours truly. Educators. These people are not just sociopaths, not just psychopaths, these teachers, but the teachers who are showing the footage to their students and telling them that Charlie Kirk deserved it. They are trying to desensitize, they are trying to groom, and they are actively trying to create an entire generation of psychopaths just like them.
They're mourning a literal fascist who hated gay people and minorities and spent every waking moment and every ounce of his energy spreading hatred. I think we saw karma in full effect yesterday.
Over in Tulare County, a College of Sequoia student took this video.
Yeah, I hope every one of his family dies, and their children, and their grandchildren, and their grandchildren, and their grandchildren to eternity.
The student, who wants to remain anonymous, says prior to pulling out her phone, the teacher told the biology class that he watched the assassination of Kirk on loop for an hour.
Tell me that wasn't karma doing her finest work. Yeah, I'll praise the shooter. He did a good job. He had good aim.
He was a white supremacist. He died tragically and was still a terrible person, and flags should not be flown at half-mast. This isn't just a case of white-on-white crime. It's white gangs versus other white gangs. White supremacy, and specifically white cis males, are the biggest threat to our country. And sadly, it's always been like that. I say all of this as a white cis male, as a parent of 2 white sons, as a national board certified history teacher.
And I bet you he would say that the shooter was a white cis male because his boyfriend with a cock and balls says he really feels like a woman. See what they do? There's no reasoning with these people. They just keep changing the definitions. How do you argue? You know, we often we joke about people who are like the Flat Earth Society. Mm-hmm. This is worse. This is worse. People who say there's no such thing as male and female. No, it's not sex, it's gender. But you know what? We're actually going to allow you to change your sex on your driver's license depending on the country. None of it is consistent. And if you sit down and you say, well, hold on a second. There is such a thing as male and female. Why are you trying to erase me? See, hetero cis males are the biggest problem. Well, hold on a second. That wasn't a cis male who, yeah, it was. Are you saying that Tyler Robinson's lover who claims she's a woman is not a woman? Yeah, I'm saying that he's not a woman. I'm saying that he's gay. See, that's the kind of language that leads to this division. You mean the truth? You mean the irrefutable scientific truth? Gravity's a thing. Penises are a thing. Chromosomes are a thing. And the more research that is conducted, the more it is solidified that these are inescapable truths. And so the left just says, no, it's not. It's my truth. You cannot reason with those people. Do not waste your time with those people. Make an example of them and focus on the people who will actually listen. Also, get away from those people because they're a threat. There's a Canadian teacher, the worst country in the world, I've said this many times, who showed 10-year-olds video of Charlie Kirk's assassination, said that Charlie Kirk deserved it, lectured children on trans issues and anti-fascism. That person is trying to turn these children into psychopaths. It's like Clockwork Orange. I have not seen the truly graphic footage of Charlie Kirk being assassinated more than once. I was in my office and I saw that he had been shot, and there was some quick video on my X timeline where I heard a gunshot and I just went, oh, that sounds like a rifle, but I didn't really look at it. And I walked right out to the research team because I know they're always on top. I said, did you guys see that Charlie Kirk? And I have a tendency to, when things are kind of a half smile when things are new, and I just go like, did you see Charlie Kirk got shot? Yeah, what are you hearing? What are you seeing? And then they started filling me in and filling in the pieces. And then I saw the angle, the footage that frankly would seem to be over the top graphic if you saw it in a film. And I haven't been able to watch it since. I don't want to. I don't recommend that you watch it again. But showing that to children over and over, that is to leave an imprint. And this teacher is trying to marry with that imprint. See that violence? See that? That's actually his fault. This is the byproduct of the right wing, the threat that are cisgender males, that is trying to groom children into the psychopaths that they are. Oh, you're still here, which is a miracle in the age of Instagram and shorts. I think you have some shorts up there. You have an attention span that is longer than that of a fruit gnat. So thank you. I'm glad you probably would like it a lot more if you actually head over and subscribe on Rumble. I'm live there 5 days a week, 11 a.m. Eastern, where free speech is still alive. Go to Rumble. Get off the social media ghetto that is YouTube, with a lot of homosexual activity here on YouTube. There may be some on Rumble, but I haven't seen it.